This is Julian speaking, welcoming you to another battle report out of the breach. We're celebrating the final week of the Fate of Eric event. I hope you all had the chance to play some games with 3 upgrades attached to Eric. If not, now is your chance to submit some games and decide the fate of Eric. I look back at an awesome event. So many of you were active on the social media platforms, submitting games, showing lovely pictures, or just discussing the fate of Eric.
Hey, you. Hey. Join us today. Become a cultist.
Okay, I was able to bring you a battle report once a week and read out the story parts. And for those of you who are not into video editing, that's around 15 to 20 hours of work for every battle report. I even managed to be in Bristol for the tournament. Meeting a few of you in person was a delight for me. I want to thank you all for sticking with me and supporting the channel. What a wonderful journey. But enough intro. I want to welcome you to the last Fate of Eric battle report out of the breach. Sit back, grab a drink of your choosing, and enjoy the battle report. You already expected it. This time Eric will fight for the Leschewult. He keeps his upgrades from before, so he is Leschewitz vessel equipped with an enchanted weapon. And he has seen the light. He already has the cultist keyword, but gains the passive ability for the cause. He gains +1 melee and +1 arcane stat if a friendly cultist is within 6 inches. Let's see what Eric can do with these 3 upgrades attached to him. Here you see the depth of the moonstones on the battlefield. Here you see the 8 characters who want to fight for the Leschewult. And here the 8 for the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth win the roll-off and decide to take the initiative. So the Leschewult get the early bird, and Lubot appears next to a lovely small house and enjoys the silence of the night. Mama Gimbal sees the giant in the distance and wonders if Lubot is here for her newest tea cake recipe. And the hero of our story, Eric the Unsure, had seen the light as Leschewitz vessel and equipped with a magic weapon. What can go wrong? Morris sniffs and sees a faint glow in the distance. With his trained eye, he is sure it is a very deep moonstone. And he will take care of it. And Kavanagh appears, ready to let some balls vanish. Quorrell readies his crossbow to help his friends. Callista walks next to Eric. She had already fought at his side and had seen what he is capable of. Young Jack arrives next to Quarrel and knows his friend usually needs a little help harvesting the moonstones. Brother Daniel sees a moonstone right next to the house and walks right to it. And Billy arrives on Silver, ready to ride into battle for afternoon tea and late night snacks. Turn 1. The Commonwealth has the initiative and hands the first activation over to the Lesherwold, and Brother Daniel jogs to the Moonstone and spends 2 energy to harvest it and rests on his last energy. Jack jogs and spends 1 energy to harvest the Moonstone down to a 1, steps once and rests on his last energy. Kavanagh spends 2 energy to use Roly-Poly. He can move 2 inches and gains -2 evade stat until the end of the turn. He jogs to get in base contact with the Moonstone and spends his last energy to harvest it down to a 1. Mama Gimbal jogs and stays within 1 inch of Morris and rests on her 3 energy. Lubard jogs and rests on his 2 energy, and Jack takes a reaction step. Morris uses his once per turn ability Shove to push Mama Gimbal 2 inches directly away from him. Then he jogs and steps twice, and Lubard takes a reaction step. Callista spends 3 energy to cast a Lesherwitz Caress on Eric and declares a pink 1. The Commonwealth accept and Eric gains protection. And she jogs over to Lubard. Mama Gimbal takes 2 reaction steps. Quarrel jogs and steps once to get in base contact with the Moonstone and harvests to pick up the stone and steps once more. Eric jogs, steps twice and rests on his last energy. And Mama Gimbal takes a reaction step. Billy jogs and spends 2 energy to cast Hi-Ho Silver and declares a green 3. The Lesherwold accept and Billy can move 6 inches. Lubard and Daniel take reaction steps and Billy spends his last energy to step once. And Eric takes a reaction step. And that's the end of turn 1. Will Billy just ride over to Brother Daniel, pick him up to ride with him together to the end of the world? Will Quarrel be able to shoot Kavanagh despite his acrobatic tricks? We will discover this and so much more in the next turn. Turn 2. The Commonwealth win the initiative, and in the replenish step, Brother Daniel shouts, "Look at the shiny thing!" And Lubard gains 1 energy. Billy spends 3 energy to use his ramming speed, targeting Brother Daniel. He is moved 6 inches directly towards him and flips an arcane card. He flips a blue 2. And Brother Daniel suffers X plus 1 impact damage and is pushed X inches directly away from Billy. Daniel suffers 3 wounds and is moved 2 inches. And Billy jogs to get in base contact with Daniel. Kavanagh harvests to pick up the stone, jogs for 2 inches, and spends his last 2 energy for a roly-poly. Mama Gimbal harvests to pick up the stone, jogs, and spends 1 energy to use Mother's Love on young Jack. She moves 2 inches towards him, and he moves 2 inches towards her and heals for 2. And she rests on her last energy. Eric jogs to be in base contact with the Moonstone and rests on his 3 energy. Quarrel jogs and shoots at Lubart. He can ignore Morris, but not the stone, so Lubart gains light cover. And Quarrel declares a green 2. The Lesherwold accept, and Lubart suffers 4 wounds and is pushed 1 inch directly away. And Quarrel spends 2 energy to reload his crossbow. Lubart spends 3 energy to use Righteous Fury, jogs over to be within 3 inches of Billy, and attacks. Lubart is a predictable combatant and has to show his 6 cards. A bit of everything. And Lubart plays a rising attack and Billy a high guard. Lubart can declare impact damage to deal 5 wounds on Billy. And he attacks again. Billy sees 2 fallen swings and 2 sweeping cuts and chooses wisely. Lubart plays a sweeping cut and Billy a high guard again. No damage. 1 last attack. This time Lubart shows 2 fallen swings and 2 rising attacks and 2 guards. Lubart plays a rising attack and Billy a low guard. No damage again. After the first massive hit, Silver has gotten nervous dodging the incoming attacks. Or just a good portion of luck for Billy. Morris jogs to get in base contact with Eric and uses Shove to move Eric 2 inches. Eric takes a reaction step to engage Morris again, and Morris attacks. Morris plays 2 rising attacks and Eric a high guard. Morris can declare impact damage to deal 6 wounds on Eric. Morris spends his last energy to attack again, and Eric spends 1 energy to go for it. Morris plays a thrust, and Eric a sweeping cut, and can follow up with a thrust to deal 3 wounds on Morris. Callista jogs and spends 3 energy to cast Lesherwold's Caress on Eric, and declares a pink 3. The Commonwealth call OK, and Eric heals 4 wounds and gains protection. Jack jogs and steps twice to engage Callista, and Eric takes a reaction step to engage Jack. And Jack attacks Callista. Jack plays a fallen swing and Callista a thrust. Jack gains +2 on slicing and can deal 2 wounds on Callista, and she gains +1 on piercing, but Jack's shield reduces every damage by 1. 2 wounds on Jack. Brother Daniel steps twice and attacks Billy. Daniel plays a fallen swing and Billy a high guard. No damage for Billy. And that's the end of turn 2. I thought it was funny to ram Daniel, but oh boy, Lubart with his melee range is still a tough nut to crack with gnomes. It's still a thing of wonder that Billy lives. And Eric, I did my best to give him his 2nd life and having him down to 1 wound, just to see him healed by 4 and protected. It's a bit demotivating, but the gnomes still pressing forward to get the Moonstones. Let's see how the game continues in the next turn. Turn 3. Brother Daniel let Lubot gain 1 energy and the Lesherwold win the initiative. And Eric attacks young Jack. Eric plays 2 rising attacks and Jack a thrust. Eric can deal 1 wound on Jack and Jack deals 3 on Eric. Hello, this is Editing Julian speaking. 3 wounds, you might ask? Yes, we forgot about Eric's leather jerkin to reduce piercing or slicing damage by 1. Eric attacks again and spends 1 to go for it. He plays a sweeping cut and Jack plays a sweeping cut. No damage for Jack, but Jack can declare 2 slicing damage on Eric. Hello, this is Editing Julian speaking. You know what I want to say, so we just continue with the battle report. Eric prepares his comeback and Callista gains 1 energy. Billy spends 2 energy for a hi-ho silver and declares a green 2 to move 4 inches and jogs around the house to get away from the feared sensor chain. Kavanagh jogs, stabs once and harvests to pick up the stone and rests on his last energy. Mama Gimbal spends 1 energy to use her once per game ability Mother's Wrath to give every other friendly gnome within 3 inches 1 energy. Then she spends 2 to cast a healing on Jack. She declares a blue 2, the Lesherwold accept, and young Jack heals for 3. And then she jogs. Lubot jogs to give Daniel some cover and uses Righteous Fury and rests on his 3 energy. Jack attacks Callista, and Callista spends 1 to go for it. Jack plays a sweeping cut and Callista a high guard. No damage. Jack attacks again, and Callista goes for it. Jack plays a rising attack and Callista a high guard again. This time she suffers 4 wounds because Jack can declare slicing damage. And another attack. Callista goes for it. Jack plays a thrust and Callista a high guard again. 1 wound for Callista. Callista survives with 1 wound. Jack jogs over to Kavanagh and Kavanagh takes a reaction step away from Jack. And Jack spends his last energy to use Lucky. He can see the top 5 cards of the arcane deck and can choose to put any number back on top of the deck and the rest at the bottom. Callista steps once to get out of Jack's engagement range and jogs over to Mama Gimbal. Quarrel jogs and shoots at Kavanagh. He declares a green 3. The Lesherwold accept and Kavanagh suffers 6 wounds and is pushed 1 inch away from Quarrel. Quarrel spends 2 to reload and uses his last energy to shoot at Lubot. He declares a green 3. The Lesherwold call bluff. The green 1 is revealed, but there is no catastrophe to replace the green 1. So Bernd puts down any other card from his hand and the shot misses. Brother Daniel casts Spellringer and declares a pink 1, and every friendly model within 4 heals for 1. Daniel jogs and steps to get in base contact with the Moonstone. Morris spends 1 energy to pick up the stone because of his minor ability. He spends 2 energy to cast Sinkhole on Callista. He declares a pink 1, the Lesherwold call bluff. The pink 1 is revealed, but no other card to put down. Callista suffers 1 wound and is slain. Lubot takes 2 reaction steps. Morris uses Shove to push Mama Gimbal and jogs for 2. And that's the end of turn 3. Brother Daniel on the 4th stone and Kavanagh in danger. Eric will be reborn to help his friends in need. Who will win? Let's find out in the next turn. Turn 4. The Leshavult win the initiative and Kavanak wants to get away from Jack. He jogs and uses Roly-Poly to move another 2 inches and rests on his last energy. Mama Gimbal jogs and uses her mother's love on Kavanak to move him 2 inches towards her, but also heals him for 2. Eric jogs to engage Jack and casts a Revitalize on Kavanak. He declares a catastrophe, the Commonwealth calls OK, Eric suffers 3 wounds, and because a model suffers a catastrophe, he gains 1 energy. And he tries again. Eric declares a blue 2, and the Commonwealth call bluff. The blue 2 is revealed, and Eric declares a blue 1 on himself. Kavanak heals for 2 and Eric for 1. And Eric uses Revitalize again, this time on himself, and declares a blue 2 and heals for 2. And Mama Gimbal takes 2 reaction steps. Morris jogs for 2 and steps twice and uses Shove to push Jack 2 inches away. Lubart uses his Righteous Fury and jogs over to Jack. And Jack takes a reaction step to get outside of 1 inch of Lubart. Lubart spends 1 energy to cast Haul In on Jack and declares a pink 2. The Commonwealth call bluff, but the pink is revealed and Jack is pulled 2 inches towards Lubart. And Lubart attacks. Jack spends 1 to go for it. Lubart shows his combat hand, and Jack sees a sweeping cut. Jack plays 2 fallen swings, and Lubart the sweeping cut. Lubart can deal 6 wounds on Jack, and Jack loses his energy. Jack can deal 8 wounds on Lubart. Quarrel reloads and shoots at Daniel. He declares the green 3. The Leshavult call bluff, and the green 1 is revealed, and a catastrophe can replace the green card. Quarrel cannot reload his crossbow for the rest of the game. Brother Daniel spends 2 energy to pick up the stone, jogs for 2, and steps once. And the game ends. 4-3, a win for the Leshavult. Lubart as Bane for the gnomes, just sapping Jack's energy and ending the game. I should start to paint my airship. But it's not just Lubart. As you all know, a game is always the sum of its parts. I should have stayed aggressive with Billy after luckily surviving the attacks from Lubart. More pressure or even a slain Daniel would have changed the games drastically in my favor. But I decided to run away and took Billy out of the game. I should be braver next time. Either way, we tried our best to bring a well thought out game to you and hope it was fun and interesting to watch. And that is the last Fate of Eric report on this channel. What a journey! I cannot wait to read the last part of the story and eagerly await the final result of all the games played. I want to thank you all for watching and will say my goodbyes for now. I have many plans for the channel and my personal journey ahead too. I definitely enjoyed all the work and want to dedicate more time and effort to the channel. I'm a bit shy about it, and a potential Patreon is not gonna be starting right away, but I want to be able to do so much more content, and I have many ideas I want to realize. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. So, if you are interested in supporting me and the work I'm doing, I would love to hear from you and welcome you as a Patreon in the near future. I'm not a big fan of exclusive content, but I think Patreons should be able to see videos before the official release, and I want to share some behind the scenes footage, and I would love to discuss future content. I am very new to the idea of starting a Patreon on my own and would love to hear your thoughts on it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, send me an email or contact me via Discord. I would love to hear from you. The road goes ever on and on. Down from the door where it began, now far ahead the road has gone, and I must follow if I can, pursuing it with eager feet until it joins some larger way where many paths and errands meet. And whither them, I cannot say. Jack's shield reduces every damage by 2. Nein.
Hey, you. Hey. Join us today. Become a cultist.